Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? And welcome to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. My name is TJ Jones. I want to say thank you for checking out the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Well, Who Dat Nation, we don't have to wait much longer, right? According to ESPN.com and NFL insider Ian Rappaport, the New Orleans Saints have released wide receiver Brandon Marshall. Now, we all had our questions about Brandon Marshall and why he wasn't on the field, and if the Saints seen something in him, why wasn't he playing? And I think that a lot of people were thinking Brandon Marshall has done some great things in the league, and the way the Saints been playing offensively for the last couple weeks, they could have used the services of Brandon Marshall. Well, we don't have to wonder anymore because he was released by the New Orleans Saints. And to be honest, I feel sorry for Brandon Marshall. I would like to see Brandon Marshall at least play in the playoffs at least one time in his career. As much as Brandon Marshall has done around the league, once again, he had 970 receptions. He has the NFL record for most receptions in a game with 21. All of those achievements he's made, he's never made the playoffs. And I really, truly think that is going to hold him out of the Hall of Fame. And it's sad, man. I think that if he would have went out there and did a few things for the Saints, maybe caught a few passes, that probably would have looked good on his resume and made it more appealing to the Hall of Fame committee. But this looks like this is going to be the end of the career of Brandon Marshall. He's 35 years old, and, you know, teams aren't busting down the door to sign a 35-year-old wide receiver. As great as Brandon Marshall has been in his career, I always talk about how good he was after the catch, how good he was running routes, and how big and powerful he was. He was more of a speedy Michael Thomas, man, if I can just think about anybody I can compare him to. Of course, he was 235 pounds when he was young and active. And, I mean, he was really violent, man. I mean, he was one of those guys who was really violent after the catch, and he was really dominant, you know, for a couple of years in the NFL. But once again, it's just very, very unfortunate he won't get opportunity to make the playoffs. But I do think this. He's been on a team long enough. If the Saints go to the Super Bowl, he'll get a Super Bowl ring. So I think that's a win-win, right? I'm pretty sure if you played in the league for 13 years, you never made the playoffs, you got picked up by a team that actually won the Super Bowl, and they call you and be like, hey, we want to give you a Super Bowl ring. What you going to be like? I didn't play for you, so I don't want it. I doubt that's going to happen. But the Saints did also pick up a tight end from the Indianapolis Colts, Eric Swope. Eric Swope, he's been in the league about 4 years. He's one of those new breed of tight ends that we have in NFL right now. You know, the guys that played basketball in college and they try to transition to football, kind of similar to Jimmy Graham. I mean, he even followed the path of a Jimmy Graham. You think about it. He went to the University of Miami. He played basketball. He didn't really wow anybody with his basketball skills. I think he averaged maybe about 1.3 points a game. Wasn't anything spectacular, but he had a lot of hustle. And a lot of people respect him for the University of Miami. They respected him so much, they appointed him captain his senior year. He went undrafted, and he was picked up by the Indianapolis Colts and signed to the practice squad after he cleared waivers. And he was on the practice squad his first year. He had opportunity to sign with the team in his second year. Of course, they put him on the practice squad again. And then when Wayne Allen was put on injury reserve in the third year of Eric Swope's career, he was able to play in the game. And his fourth year, he probably had his best season where he registered 4 touchdowns in that season. He's a rare tight end. He's a guy who needs a lot of work. He needs a little bit more polishing. But he is 26 years old. And you know, with the mind of a Sean Payton, we seen what happened with Jimmy Graham. I mean, we know about how good Jimmy Graham was and how Sean Payton made Jimmy Graham. Yes, I'm going to say it. He made Jimmy Graham an all-pro. And I think he can do the same thing for Eric Swope. I'm really excited about it because the Saints, they do need a tight end. They need a tight end that can actually catch. I mean, we have Benjamin Watson, but Benjamin Watson is 37 years old. And as much as I love and respect Benjamin Watson, I mean, honestly, his best days are behind him instead of in front of him. And I think that when Swope comes into the locker room, learning under Benjamin Watson, and aligning himself with some of the young talent like Dan Arnold and Josh Hill, I think that he'll have something to bring to the New Orleans Saints team. You know that Sean Payton is probably licking his chops, thinking about what he can do for the New Orleans Saints, what Swope can do in goal line situations. I'm really excited to see that, and I think the Saints can really use his services, especially a guy who is big and physical as Eric Swope is. But that's some news that's coming out of the Saints camp, and I think that they have made up in their mind they're going to go with the young guns, the undrafted free agents down the stretch. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. And since we're talking about some of those young guns, I think that we need to transition and talk about what's going on with the offense. That's a question that has been on everybody's mind. Everybody is saying that ever since the Dallas Cowboy game, the Saints have been starting slow. A lot of people feel like the offense is sputtering off. And the question on everybody's mind is, what in the world has happened? What happened? What happened to the offense? What happened to scoring for the game? What happened to throwing the ball down the field? What happened to the offense? Are we becoming too predictable? Are teams circling in on Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and realize that the other players are not getting separation? And they're probably thinking to themselves, man, besides those guys, the Saints ain't got no playmakers. Where the playmakers at? Keith Kirkwood? Man, please. Austin Carr? Come on, man. Let's just eliminate Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and let's go ahead and win this game. Or maybe, this is my favorite right here, maybe the Dallas Cowboys gave teams the blueprint on how to beat the Saints. I'm okay, man. Look, I'm not even going to get into that. But the main question is, what happened to the offense? And I think I have the answer. Yes, I really do. I think I have the answer, and I think I know why the Saints offense has been sputtering. But I don't think that you have to go back to the Dallas Cowboy game. No. I think you have to go back a week before against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I know what you all are thinking. The Saints beat the brakes off the Atlanta Falcons, man. Man, they plucked them dirty birds, right? That's what we thinking. You see, we don't pay attention to things when the Saints win because we're so excited and we're so happy that they won, and we don't pay attention to the things that went wrong. But I did, and I was afraid that it was going to happen, and it's unfortunate, but luckily it can be fixed. And that one thing is Terod Armstead. I don't think you all understand the importance of a left tackle. A left tackle job is to protect the quarterback's blind side. And nobody in the National Football League this year has done it better than Terod Armstead. Now, I know what you all are thinking. Look, we all do this. We all do this. We did this with Brandon Marshall. We did this with Adrian Peterson. We did this with Champ Bailey. We fall in love with names. So when somebody says the name Adrian Peterson, we're like, oh, man, Adrian Peterson, AP all day. We think about Champ Bailey, the lockup corner. Oh, man, the Saints signed Champ Bailey. Oh, man. Even Jarius Byrd. Oh, man, the ball hawking safety from the Buffalo Bills. See, we fall in love with names, man, but we fail to realize that sometimes those players' names don't equate to good play in the later years of their career. And I think we're looking at Jermai Bushride in that sense. Jermai Bushride has been a great Saints player. Of course, we know about Jermai Bushride in the Saints run. He was the best left tackle in the National Football League. The Saints won the best offensive line that year. They went to the Super Bowl. But Jermai Bushride is not the same. I say it all the time. I said it on podcasts before that Jermai Bushride is not the same as he once was. And if he was, he would not be playing for the Saints. He would have got picked up with a big, huge contract. Terod Armstead is something special. According to Pro Football Focus, he is ranked the #1 offensive lineman in football at his position of left tackle. And left tackle, honestly, is one of the most important positions in the National Football League. Of course, we don't pay attention to those guys because while they're blocking, somebody's making a big play. But pay attention. The Saints, in the last few weeks, have not run the ball to the left side as often as they did to the right. And you're probably wondering why, or how did I pay attention to that? It's the reason because Teron Armstead isn't there. Why is Drew Brees getting sacked as much as he is over the past few weeks? That's because Teron Armstead isn't there. If Jermon Bushrod is getting whooped at the line of scrimmage, they're going to ask Andrews Pete to chip block, or they're probably going to put a tight end to block. So you're probably wondering why the tight ends aren't making plays. That's the reason why, because they're helping Jermon Bushrod. Why is defensive linemen getting pressure up the middle on Drew Brees? Because Andrews Pete has to help Jermon Bushrod. We're not paying attention to these things, but it's so important. And that's the reason why the Saints offense has been sputtering, in my opinion. But Teron Armstead, he did practice last week, even though he didn't play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I feel like when he does come back, the Saints are going to improve. Look, I understand that the Dallas Cowboy defense has improved, and everybody's talking about them, and it really is starting to make me sick because they're making it seem like these guys about to go to the Super Bowl or something like that. Look, only time will tell. I mean, I ain't about to discredit them, but I looked at the New Orleans Saints go up against some elite pass rushers, and those guys didn't even sniff Drew Brees. Aaron Donald had 16 and a half sacks this season, and he didn't even get close to Drew Brees. And it don't get no better than Aaron Donald. And if Aaron Donald can't come up the middle on Drew Brees, I mean, I'm just saying, DeMarcus Lawrence, he good, but he ain't no Aaron Donald. And this guy is something special. So I think when Teron Armstead gets back, the Saints will improve offensively because players can go out there and make plays. I look at the Saints offense. I mean, since Teron Armstead has went down, I mean, catches by tight ends have went down. The running game has suffered. I mean, this guy is really important, man. Really, truly important. So I feel like when he gets back, the Saints are going to get back on track. But that's just my opinion, man. This is something that I've been paying attention to, but I would love to hear from you. What do you think is the reason for the Saints' offensive woes over the past few games? Go ahead and comment down below, like and share this video, and also subscribe to the State of the Saints Podcast YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com, search the State of the Saints Podcast, and I would really appreciate it. You will get notifications on every video that I do talking about the New Orleans Saints. This has been the State of the Saints Podcast. All I have to say is, who dat?